Okay, guys, this assignment is going to cover third parties and their impact on politics during the Progressive Era, especially. So, this is the chart that you're going to use to add your notes to based on the video that you're going to watch here, okay, and the PowerPoint. So, you're going to answer questions about the Populist Party and the Progressive Party. You can see your questions are here on the side, okay, and then you're going to type in the boxes. If you have this printed out for any reason, okay, you can write the answers in there. So the Populist Party was one of your vocabulary terms that we talked about, and we're going to add some information about the Progressive Party. Okay, so go funny. So we're going to watch this video first.
The United States has a long history of active third parties. What does it mean to be a third party? What have been some of the more prominent third parties in American politics? The United States has what is known as a two-party system, with the two main parties being the Republicans and the Democrats. However, that does not mean those are the only two parties that exist. All other parties in American politics are referred to as third parties. This term simply means that they are a political party that is not one of the two main parties. Third parties tend to rise up out of necessity. When a group feels that the two main parties are ignoring an important issue, a third party might rise up around that issue. This type of party can also come to be known as a single-issue party, since many of them focus on one issue that is important to them and ignore all other aspects of politics. There have been many third parties and single-issue parties formed throughout the nation's history. For example, in the 1840s and 1850s, there were a number of different parties created over the issue of slavery. It was a topic that the two leading parties of the day, the Whigs and the Democrats, did not focus on because it was a controversial topic, and there were many opponents and supporters on both sides. The Free Soil Party was one anti-slavery party that formed in the 1840s. The Free Soil Party managed to elect 14 members to Congress, and the Free Soil presidential nominee earned more than 300,000 votes in the 1848 election. Most of those who were members of the Free Soil Party eventually became members of the Republican Party, which also began its life as an anti-slavery third party. In the 1850s, the topic of Irish immigration concerned many voters. As a result, a third party, known as the American Party, was formed. They sought to curtail immigration, but experienced little success. Unfortunately, several of those who were involved with the American Party used violent tactics in an attempt to prevent Irish Catholics from voting. When authorities began asking about the group's activities, party members were told to reply, "I know nothing." As a result, this party has come to be known in history as the Know Nothing Party. One of the most successful third parties in American history was the People's Party in the 1890s, also known as the Populists. The Populists supported farmers and the working poor. They promoted the introduction of the income tax, an 8-hour workday, and the direct election of U.S. senators. Populists even had a significant impact on the election of 1892. The Populist candidate, James B. Weaver, received more than 1 million votes and won 4 states. Weaver's success encouraged Democrats to incorporate most of the populist agenda into their own platform. The next election, in 1896, the People's Party and the Democrats both nominated William Jennings Bryan for president. After its incorporation into the Democratic Party, the People's Party quickly disappeared. This is a common fate for many third parties. If the third party is gaining enough support from voters, one of the two main parties will usually take notice and adopt the third party's stance on that issue. As a result, the need for the third party disappears, and its members are absorbed into the main party. Sometimes, a third party will develop around an individual rather than an idea. Such was the case in 1912, with the formation of the Progressive Party, better known as the Bull Moose Party. In 1912, Theodore Roosevelt lost the Republican nomination to William Howard Taft. Roosevelt and his followers broke away from the Republican Party and started the Progressive Party. The Bull Moose Party supported items such as Social Security, workers' compensation, and women's suffrage. Once again, all of these topics were eventually adopted by one of the two main political parties. Throughout the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s, one of the topics that dominated American politics was segregation. That is, the issue of separating people on the basis of race, whether it be in restaurants, on buses, or in schools. This issue was so controversial that at least two different third parties formed because of it. In 1948, the Democrats nominated Harry Truman, who was opposed to segregation, as their presidential candidate. Southern Democrats were unhappy with this choice, so they walked out of the Democratic National Convention. They formed the States' Rights Democratic Party, better known as the Dixiecrats, and nominated Strom Thurmond as their candidate for president. George Wallace, a popular former governor of Alabama, ran for president in 1968. He also ran as a segregationist. He created the American Independent Party, which is still active today. Wallace even managed to win 5 states in the 1968 election, all in the South. In 1992, Ross Perot ran as an independent. He largely represented disgruntled Republicans who felt that President George H.W. Bush was not governing according to Republican principles. Perot was very popular amongst voters, garnering well over 19 million votes in the 1992 election. Following the election, his followers established what came to be known as the Reform Party. The party experienced minor success in the 1990s, even getting a governor elected when Jesse Ventura became governor of Minnesota as a Reform Party candidate in 1999. Today, the two largest third parties in the United States are the Libertarian Party and the Green Party. But they are not the only ones. There are many other parties in existence in the United States. Other third parties include the Constitution Party, Communist Party USA, the Modern Whig Party, the Socialist Party USA, and the Prohibition Party. In fact, while most Americans are only aware of 2 presidential candidates running for office, this is not true. With each presidential election, there may be in between 40 to 60 candidates running for the nation's highest office. While most of these candidates receive few, if any, votes, they are still working to make their voices heard in the American political system.
All right, so a little extra information. The Populist Party was in the video, okay, but this is information that you are going to add to your notes, okay? So the Populist Party was established in the 1890s. It was made up mostly of farmers who struggled with debt, okay? The Populists wanted free coinage of silver, regulation of the railroads, direct election of senators, and a graduated income tax. Okay, so basically, a lot of these things that they wanted, we will eventually get. Okay, the other parties will pick up their ideas and try to get them passed. Okay, So free coinage of silver, basically what this does, it means that we are going to add money into circulation. Okay, we're adding coins to the money supply. When you add money to the money supply, it causes the money to be worth less, okay? Because the more of something you have, it's not worth as much, okay? That's why gold is worth a lot of money. There's not a whole lot of it, okay? So the more of something you have, the less money it is worth, okay? Or the less it's worth. Okay, they want a regulation of the railroads because a lot of the railroads are overcharging and they're changing their rates, and the farmers just can't keep up and they can't pay to get all of their things shipped to other cities where they can be sold. Okay. All right, presidential candidates. We had in 1892, we had James B. Weaver. And if you were paying attention to the video, he did actually win a few states in the 1892 election. Okay. Then, in populist supported Democrat William Jennings Bryan in the 1896 election instead. So they put all of their votes behind him because the Democrats picked up some of the ideas of the Populist Party. Okay, the populists planted the seeds for reform, such as the 16th and 17th Amendments, and also the Interstate Commerce Commission, the ICC, which we will talk about in more detail later on. All right, our next one, the Progressive Party or the Bull Moose Party. This is officially created in 1912. Okay, Theodore Roosevelt, who is our previous Republican president, he launched this third party in his bid for the White House, and he called it the Bull Moose Party. Okay, progressives wanted to reduce the power of big business, eliminate the power of political machines, and give people a greater voice in their government. Okay, candidates include Theodore Roosevelt. He's right here in the middle. Okay, this political party supported the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th Amendments. All right, so how did third parties impact American politics? Make sure you're adding this to your notes. The populists and progressives initiated reforms which gave the people a greater say in how their government was run and operated, resulting in a more participatory and democratic government. Third parties often focus on issues the main parties ignore. So our main parties are the Republicans and the Democrats, okay, the two-party system we have here in the United States. Third parties can split the major party with which they are most similar, leading to the other major party's victory. Okay, so make sure you're adding everything to your notes. If you are doing this digitally, make sure you are turning it in and you're clicking the submit or the turn in button when you are finished. Have a great day. Sorry guys, I missed one slide, so I have to add this one on to the end of this other recording. So, how did progressive reforms impact the relationship between government and business? All right, so progressive reforms led to a more responsive government that kept public welfare in mind, eliminating the idea that businesses should be unchecked or unregulated. Big business led to abuses and to the need for regulation. So this idea of laissez-faire or hands-off government, that starts going away in favor of more business regulation. Now that, I believe, is the end. Okay, now have a great day.